Okay, so we've got this really interesting stack of sources today, and they're all focused on, well, a true giant of football, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Absolutely. And the timing is pretty spot on, isn't it? Right after his last game of the season for Al Nassr.
Yeah, exactly. The Saudi Pro League season just wrapped up. Al Nassr landed in third. And the big thing is, his contract is apparently up in June 2025.
Right. Which naturally leads to, well, a lot of talk, uncertainty, and these sources really dive into the speculation swirling around him.
And that's our mission for this deep dive, right? We're going to try and sift through these reports, these articles, even some surprising data on his physical condition to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, what did that cryptic message he posted actually signal? And honestly, how is he still dominating transfer talk at 40?
Well, it's pretty unique for someone his age, definitely. And I think these sources give us some real clues about, the modern game and just how long athletes can potentially go now.
Okay, let's dive right in then. The thing that kicked this all off, really, was that social media post from his X account after the final match.
Yep.
He put up a picture, Al Nassr kit, and the words, "This chapter is over. The story, still being written. Grateful to all."
And that phrasing, "this chapter is over." I mean, coming right before his contract expires next month, it's hard not to see that as a pretty strong hint, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it feels like he's signaling something is ending, or at least changing.
Definitely suggests he feels his time there might be up, or he's ready for whatever's next. Leaves it open, though.
Completely open. So, okay, let's rewind a bit. His time in Saudi Arabia started January 2023. Mm-hmm. What do the sources tell us about his impact?
Well, on a personal level, performance-wise, it's been incredible. Sources like CNN, Transfermarkt, they all point to this amazing goal record.
Which is
93 goals in 105 games for Al Nassr, something like that.
Wow.
Just prolific. Yeah, and he was the top scorer in the Saudi Pro League the last 2 seasons. Got 25 league goals this past year. Even hit his 800th club career goal in that final match.
The numbers are just, well, they're Ronaldo numbers, aren't they, even now? But reading through this material, it feels like maybe his individual success didn't quite lift the team in the same way.
That's a really key point the sources make. Despite all those goals, Al Nassr hasn't actually won a major trophy since he arrived.
Right.
They finished second in his first season, which was only partial, and then third this year. And importantly, they didn't qualify for next season's AFC Champions League.
So you've got this disconnect. Star player scoring loads, team not hitting the heights, all while he's on that massive contract. What was it, 177 million a year or something?
Yeah, around 200 million annually, reportedly, made him the highest paid player in the world at the time. And the sources do suggest that lack of team success, well, it adds a layer.
Pressure, maybe. Or just makes the move seem more logical.
Could be both. You bring in a player like Ronaldo, you expect trophies. When they don't come and the league position actually slips, questions get asked, especially with the contract ending. Makes sense.
Okay, that context is crucial. Performance, team results, contract. It all leads into this next big topic that keeps popping up. The FIFA Club World Cup.
Right, the expanded one. Happening soon, mid-June to mid-July, over in the U.S.
And as you said, Al Nassr didn't qualify.
Correct. They're not one of the 32 teams.
Which makes it really kind of wild to then read comments from Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, saying there were discussions about Ronaldo maybe playing in it anyway with another club.
Yeah, that raised eyebrows. How's that possible?
Exactly.
Well, this is where it gets interesting. FIFA has set up a special, very short transfer window just for the clubs in the Club World Cup. Runs June 1st to Juneteenth.
Ah, okay.
So technically, that window allows a participating club to sign a player like Ronaldo specifically in time for the tournament.
So a team could just grab him for the CWC, like a short-term loan.
That was sort of the initial thought, maybe. But sources quoted close to Ronaldo seem to have ruled out a temporary loan just for the tournament itself.
Ah.
Yeah, so if he were to play in the CWC for someone else, it sounds like it would need to be a proper signing, a permanent deal, even if maybe it's only, say, a 6-month or 1-year contract that covers the tournament period.
Got it. That makes more sense. So which clubs are being mentioned then, particularly the ones actually in the Club World Cup?
Well, Brazil comes up a lot. Reports mention formal offers from qualified Brazilian sides. They specifically name Botafogo, Fluminense, Flamengo, and Palmeiras.
Interesting. Any specific noise around those?
There's actually a quote from the Botafogo manager, Renato Paiva. He basically says, you can't really say no to a star like Ronaldo. Calls him a goal-scoring machine still. Even hints it could be just until, December.
So even a short-term deal is attractive because, well, he still scores goals.
It seems to be the thinking for some, yeah. His appeal as a scorer is still huge.
Any other CWC teams linked?
Monterrey from Mexico gets mentioned. Part of the speculation there seems tied to Sergio Ramos being there, his old Real Madrid teammate. They're apparently still close.
Okay, makes sense. Now, one source mentioned Esperance Tunis. That felt like a real long shot reading it.
Chuckles slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was flagged almost immediately in the report itself as incredibly unlikely or even impossible.
Why's that? Just the money.
Pretty much. The financial gap is just enormous. Esperance Tunis's whole squad value is, under 20 million? Ronaldo's wage expectations, even with a pay cut, are just on a different planet. So yeah, that one seems like pure speculation, not really grounded.
Right, okay. Good to clarify that. What about other possibilities? Maybe not directly tied only to the CWC, like staying in Saudi Arabia.
That's discussed too. A move to rivals Al Hilal is floated as a possibility. The sources note that contracts in Saudi Arabia are kind of centralized, which might make an internal league move easier than elsewhere. And crucially, Al Hilal are in the Club World Cup.
Ah, so that brings it back to the CWC timing again.
Exactly. It connects those dots.
And what about the romantic notion? Sporting CP, back where it all started in Portugal.
That narrative is always there, isn't it? His boyhood club. It would be a storybook ending.
Has he said anything about that recently?
He's kind of downplayed it in the past, I think. But the sources suggest, look, as he gets closer to the absolute end of his playing days, maybe if a top European offer isn't realistic, that pull of going home could get stronger. You never know.
It's an option to keep in mind. Meanwhile, Al Nassr aren't just sitting back, are they? They've apparently made him an offer to stay put.
They have indeed. The reports detail an offer that includes a pretty hefty pay cut, about 52% apparently. Still leaves him earning a massive 96 million a year, though.
Still huge money. But there was something else in that offer.
Yeah, this is interesting. It supposedly includes investment benefits and even a 5% ownership stake in the club itself.
Wow, ownership. That's unusual for a player.
Very. It feels like maybe they're trying to offer him a path beyond just playing, a longer-term role. But the reports also say Ronaldo hasn't responded yet.
So the ball's in his court on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit, because underpinning all of this, why he's even a target for these clubs at 40, is his physical condition. And some sources, particularly the Whoop data, give incredible insight.
Yeah, that Whoop stuff is fascinating. It really tries to quantify just how incredibly well he's maintaining himself physically.
What does it say?
Well, the headline figure is his Whoop age is calculated at 28.9 years.
28.9. When he's 40.
Exactly. Over 11 years younger than his actual age, according to their metrics. It's really about extreme discipline now, not just talent.
So what habits contribute to that?
Consistency seems key. He averages 17,000 steps a day. That alone knocks a year off his Whoop age, apparently.
Yeah.
Sleep is massive for him. He calls it his most important tool for recovery. He aims for, and mostly gets, around 7 hours, 15 minutes a night, with really consistent bedtimes and wake-up times. Around 11 p.m. to midnight, up by 8:30 or 4 a.m.
So it's the routine as much as the hours.
Seems like it. And then there's all the recovery tech. The data suggests compression therapy gives him up to an 11% recovery boost, cryotherapy about 7%, even cold showers help by about 4.5%. He calls cold therapy a great tool.
He really embraces all that stuff. What about his heart rate? I saw that mentioned.
Yeah, his resting heart rate is incredibly low, down near 40 beats per minute sometimes, apparently. That low rate significantly lowers his W age, too, by about 2 years.
And he links that, too.
He links it to feeling content at home, being around positive people, managing stress, finding peace, basically.
So it's not just grinding physically, it's the whole mental and emotional side feeding into the physical numbers.
Absolutely. It's presented as a really holistic approach. Yes, he trains hard, 10 plus hours a week, high intensity stuff included, but he actively balances it with hobbies, social time, for mental well-being. It's about finding that equilibrium.
And what's his sort of philosophy behind it all? How does he explain being able to do this for so long?
He talks a lot about consistency and discipline being more important than just raw talent for longevity. There's a quote, something like, if you're not consistent, you're never going to be at a high level for so many years.
Makes sense.
He also talks about focus. Like, when you are sick, you only focus the cure. You block out the small stuff and prioritize what matters.
Laser focus again.
Yeah, and this idea of choose your hard. He acknowledges that staying fit like this is hard work. But he also says being unfit, being unhealthy, that's hard too, just in a different way. So he chooses the hard that aligns with his goals.
There's a really interesting framing.
And he stresses it's not a sacrifice for him anymore. He lives this way, comfortably, happily. It seems like it's just who he is now.
Right. It's his chosen way of life, not a punishment. Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. We've covered the message, the Al Nassr situation, the CWC factor, potential moves, the incredible longevity. What's the big picture here?
Well, putting it all together, that cryptic message really does seem like a signal he's looking for something new, probably linked to the lack of team success at Al Nassr and maybe the terms of that extension offer.
And the Club World Cup is this sort of timely catalyst.
Definitely. It creates this very specific short-term window and set of potential destinations, especially in South America, that wouldn't necessarily be there otherwise. It's a huge factor in why this is all happening now.
And underpinning it all is the fact that even at 40, his physical condition, backed up by that WH data, makes him a genuinely attractive prospect for clubs needing goals. It's not just about the name.
Exactly right. His discipline means he's still viewed as someone who can deliver on the pitch. Maybe the stage is changing, less top European leagues, more specific tournaments or different markets, but he can still contribute significantly.
So it's this picture of a legendary player at a real crossroads, leaving one chapter potentially, while the whole landscape of global football is shifting around him. New tournaments, new money, new opportunities opening up, just as traditional ones might be closing.
Yeah, his next move, whatever it is, feels like it sits right at the intersection of his personal ambition, his unbelievable physical maintenance, the money side of things, and how the game itself is evolving globally.
It really shows how the elite athletes are pushing career boundaries and how global football offers strategic choices maybe weren't there 10, 15 years ago, especially later in a career. So as arguably one of the greatest ever contemplates what could be his final big move, it's about so much more than just goals and contracts. It's this complex mix of timing, fitness, finance, and ambition. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What does Ronaldo's situation tell us about the pressures and the choices facing top athletes today, especially when they reach the twilight of their playing careers?